can feel it coming in the house tonight.
Oh, Lord. Oh, Lord.
Happy Halloween, guys and ghouls. It's the scariest night of the year, and
Well, supposed to be.
in case you didn't get the memo, evil, it dies tonight. And who's gonna kill it? Well, it's America's most slow-walking podcast, The Pod People. I'm Matisse Van Rossum, but you can call me Old Fuckleberry.
Groovy, baby. I'm Ben Sheets.
Hi, I'm Cleveland Mosier, but tonight I'm Dr. Halloween Phils.
Oh.
Like Dr. Phil?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a pretty good one.
That's okay.
Yeah.
I like Ben's better.
Well, it's that time of year again, the spookiest time of year. And we just got back from seeing Halloween Kills,
We did.
the latest installment in the Halloween reboot trilogy.
In the Halloween cinematic universe.
Yeah. The film is directed by David Gordon Green and is written by David Gordon Green and Danny McBride and some other guy, and it stars a bunch of people who were in the Halloween movies before.
Ladies and gentlemen,
More.
you can probably hear we're a little exhausted.
The defeat in our
We're a little
voices.
tired.
It's Halloween 2018, but more.
Or, yeah, and I wish it wasn't.
Halloween kills, more like Halloween kills any enthusiasm I have for this franchise.
Yep. It's dead. And still walking.
This is such a shame, and we're gonna
It's a hot bummer.
We're gonna get into it, and we're gonna talk about all the reasons why this movie was bad. But Ben and I went and saw the 2018 Halloween reboot. We talked about it on the podcast 3 years ago.
Go
Yeah,
check
you
that.
went and saw
that
the
episode
Halloween
out.
reboot. We just saw the Halloween reboot.
Halloween, and I mean, we liked it.
We were positive on it.
We liked it a lot.
I think we both gave it a 4.
I gave it a 4.5.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I liked it a lot, and I went into Halloween Kills with lots of optimism because, I mean, it's the exact same team. They shot them at the same time. Like, it picks up literally, like, the moment that the other one ends. Like, by all rights, this should be a good movie.
Well, we talked about it in the review of the first one. Like, the first one is much better than it has any right to be. Like, in the trend of, you know, these reinvented horror franchises coming up from the grave, like, usually they're bad because they over-rely on the source material without getting the point of
Yes.
it, you know, without
And-
missing the heart.
I mean, frankly, not even just horror movies. Like any of these reboots, for the most part, do that, and they miss the point. They get like too embedded in the original lore, and at the same time, often miss the point. In this case, you do both hand in hand by doing so. The more you get embedded like into who Michael Myers is, the more you miss the goddamn point.
That's the thing. So the 2018 one works because it avoids those trappings. Where the newest one, Halloween Kills, the one we just saw, absolutely falls into those traps.
Yeah, we just rewatched Halloween 2018 last night, as well as the original 78 one. It was Cleveland's first time on both of those.
I'd never seen a Halloween until last night. They were new to me.
We wanted to get Cleveland caught up before this one because
Lord, could you imagine if this had been my first like foray into Halloween?
You would have gotten-
foray into Halloween. It's not a fucking entrance to a house.
You
if
would
it
have
had been my first like foray into Halloween.
you would have gotten nothing from this.
Oh yeah,
It is like
It
this
would've
is
probably turned me off from the franchise a little bit.
you know what Ben and I made as a point of praise for Halloween 2018 when we talked about it is that it ignores all of the other Halloween films except for the original one. That's the only one that it considers canon. So it has its fair share of light fan servicey moments, like little.
I would even say it has a lot of fan service. But the thing is, it is still a good film in spite of that because it does something with its plot and
Yeah.
narrative.
And I mean it keeps its plot pretty simple-ish for the most part, and it does have plenty of fan service, but it is like, okay, you know, we are trying to revive a franchise 40 years after the original one. You know, we've got Jamie Lee Curtis back as Laurie Strode. We've got Nick Castle back as the Shape. Like, this is supposed to be like a continuation of just that original story without all the convoluted bullshit about like Laurie Strode secretly being Michael Myers' sister, all of that bullshit, like, out the window. So it's like the fan service felt like, hey, you know, we're back. This is Halloween again. You know, like there's
It's a celebration.
right.
It feels like a love letter.
Yeah,
This-
fan service.
this
There's
movie-
nothing like, inherently wrong with fan service in my eyes.
If it serves
and two,
a
like,
purpose.
well, at that point, I think. Okay, the problem with fan service is it is servicing fans and nothing else, right? That is fan service. Like, that's poorly done stuff. For instance, something I would say is like a reference or pays homage would be like the bus crashing in 2018. Like with the bus crashing and the asylum people like walking around in the dark street. It's very reminiscent of like the asylum people walking around in the dark field in the first one. But it has utility. Michael Myers is being transferred. It's
Yep.
the night that, you know, that's happening. And
It's like
Laurie
it's like
even
poetry, it rhymes.
yeah, and Laurie even like gets to see him or whatever, so like it adds to it, and there's something there. And so when you see, it's like, oh yeah, I remember like in the first film, not like in the South Parky way, but like, oh yeah, I remember in the first movie when this happens. That's cool. I get to feel this feeling again, but not just that. Like, it still serves purpose. And even like small like little posters in the background, like. I don't tend to have like a problem with fan service when it's like, you know, it's relatively subtle. It's like a poster in the background has to do with something similar from the past. I mean, even the original Halloween has like that shot of The Thing, you know, which like John Carpenter would go to like remake, you know, like several years later. That's kind of the same sort of thing in a way. It's almost masturbatory, but they get away with it. And that's all fine and good. But when it is for that and nothing else, it tends to ring hollow. Yeah.
This fucking movie was fan service the movie. This is like one of the most member-berry ass fucking movies that I've seen in a really, really long time.
You want to hear a really
What
hot
makes
take?
it worse is the stuff they do try in terms of trying new things with the franchise are even worse than any of the fan servicey elements.
All right. Well, last episode, I felt the need to like start with a bit of a tangent so I could just rip the Band-Aid off and not like just inject this into the middle of the discussion about the film.
Yes, your 10-minute discussion of Cars.
Yeah. You're gonna hate me, but like I feel like a really needed comparison right now is the Star Wars sequels
Okay.
because they also suck. Like,
they do.
and they suck for a lot of the same reasons. When the first Star Wars sequel movie came out, when 9 came out, we were less fatigued by that sort of thing. And it was
7?
yeah, whatever. Yeah, 7. I don't give a shit.
whatever.
When 7 came out, like
The Force Awakens.
they basically have another Death Star kind of thing. You know, we're getting to see some familiar faces again. It has some problems, but it's not all that bad. It's whatever, at least at the time.
It's
That's how
really
we felt.
about family.
In hindsight, like, it gets progressively worse, but
You think
it's really about family. Yeah. But like, the future seemed bright and hopeful, and the expectation was, well, you know, like, if now that we've introduced this stuff, they let us focus on the new generation. We got to see how things kind of wrapped up with the old, and we can move forward from here and explore new worlds, try new things. It's a new Star Wars. It's a new age for Star Wars. Well, it turns out it wasn't. You know,
Well,
like,
because they didn't do any planning. Like, not to get us off on too much of a tangent because it's not necessary, but like I'm a Last Jedi defender in the regard.
yeah, I am too.
In the regard that it tries a bunch of like really weird different things for Star Wars that like a lot of Star Wars fans hated, and I'm not going to speak to like the success of those things, but it at least felt like it was trying to move in kind of a different direction. And then everybody fucking hated it, and Disney backpedaled and said, oh, nope, we gotta bring JJ back.
I mean,
Yep.
JJ's gotta come back and retcon everything.
this movie does that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Try,
Yeah.
Halloween Kills tries different things. It may not work, But
This
No,
one's,
I'm
this is
inclined
more,
to
this
agree
is more
with Ben.
this is
Yeah.
more frustrating.
Yeah, like,
to
well,
me.
but see, here's
It's more
the thing too.
frustrating to
Like,
me.
I'll even say I would rather watch The Last Jedi than I would watch this film.
I fucking hate The Last Jedi.
Like,
I'm gonna put that
There
out
are-
there.
I'm with
hate
Tease on this
movie
one.
too.
Like, there was some a little bit middle of the road on it. There were some things I really liked. There's some things I really hated. Point being,
Yeah, I don't think it's a great
but
movie.
the things I
but-
didn't like are the same. Largely that in that film they still didn't figure out that they needed to give the main characters enough time, and we're still left with like this sort of awkward middle ground between like the old legacy and the new legacy. And we don't get enough time with our new legacy characters, and that development isn't allowed to be shaped in either direction, especially by the third one of those.
Well, yeah, the third one they just fucking retcon everything.
Yeah.
and go back to square one and do a bunch of weird, stupid, confusing.
Yeah, and they
shit.
feel the need to like explain Palpatine. Like
They feel the
and-
need to not explain him.
Well, yeah,
Except in the Fortnite
The worst of both.
tie-in
Yeah.
thing. Whatever.
yeah, it's a mess, and that's about it. All I had on that, but like I think it's important because it is also like 40 years later or whatever, and they're trying to like pick up where they left off.
Yeah.
And they try, we have to like get explanations. But frankly, at least in those movies, Leia and Han's rocky relationship or whatever is just sort of taken for granted. And we don't have to like fucking delve into the rest. And we only get like minor flashbacks in the second one. That's all there is, at least. Here, like, it is constant. It is aggressive. I was joking, like walking out of the movie theater, like if you hit Control F on the script, like to find like how many instances of 40 years ago, the words 40 years ago there were, it would be like 20 something.
This script is fucking terrible.
trash.
And
It
that's
is quite possibly the worst script of the year.
Spoilers ahead. We didn't like it.
I couldn't help but thinking about this in comparison to like the few other movies from this year that I've really disliked. Which, in fairness to 2021, is fewer than the movies that I've really liked. But like, The Conjuring 3 is my least favorite movie of the year so far. I think that it is still a worse movie than this.
Yes.
Because it is uninspired and by the numbers and lazy. This has a worse script.
Yes.
Than The Conjuring 3 is stupid and convoluted and dumb, but it's relatively safe.
Yeah.
This thing is Halloween Kills is so fucking confusing. And I think the problem is they realized that they can't really do anything different with Michael Myers, so they have to try something different with the setting that Michael Myers occupies. In broad strokes, like the plot of this movie is Michael Myers has escaped once again from the position he was left in at the end of the last movie in Laurie Strode's burning house. But this time, the whole town gets riled up into like a Frankenstein-style mob to come together as a community and hunt down and kill Michael Myers.
You might say Halloween Kills. I hate this title.
It's a bad title.
But you get what they're doing, right? Like, you see, like, it's like, oh, Halloween Kills. It's not Michael Kills. Do you see, like, it's by design. Like,
Yeah.
that's the bit that they're going for,
Yeah.
and it's supposed to be clever, and I hate it.
Well, because like by the end they start trying to like transcend the idea of Michael Myers as like it's not the man Michael Myers, it's the fear that
By
he
the end,
instills.
Jesus, they're saying it the
that's
whole time.
That's the real evil. Like they do some like some fucking the real Michael Myers is the friends we made along the way kind of bullshit. You know?
No, absolutely.
Well,
and like, they try and give it weight at the end when Laurie's doing like her final spiel about it in the hospital room, and like the music, like it's all intense, but there's no weight to it because we've had like 6 other monologues,
It
like
feels
about
like
the same
they
thing.
were trying to get topical and political with it too by saying like Michael Myers is really the anger and division brought to the community.
It's the division he's sown amongst us. He's turned the town into monsters.
Donald Trump is the real Michael Myers.
They don't like. Yeah, it's and
Yeah.
How awful was it when let's just bounce all over.
We're
the
all
place.
over the
yeah,
place.
fuck it. Who cares?
This
The movie
movie is all over the place.
Yeah, fuck it. Okay, like when the guy like leaps out the window and he splatters on the pavement and the crowd gets around and they have to have a fucking guy like actually say that, right? Like go like, oh, where are the monsters? Or like some shit. Like I mean that's how I read it.
The fucking evil dies tonight chant that they get going is one of the fucking most asinine, stupid things I've seen in a movie in such a long time.
And then,
like they say it once in the trailer and it's like, okay, like it's Jamie Lee Curtis saying it. It's like, okay, like she, because of her encounter with Michael like 40 years ago, she has sort of like mythologized him as this like force of evil like in her mind. But like the way that the first film or Halloween 2018 presents her is that like she's so traumatized from that experience that she's become like a paranoid nutcase, right? While the rest of the town around her is like normal. You know, like even her daughter is like, Mom, you can't live in fear like this. Like this is fucking ridiculous. Like you're tearing our family apart or whatever. Like Laurie Strode is the nutcase, but like we as the audience, like we get it because we've seen what she's been through, what she's dealt with. But in this
it's
movie,
always been like that. Like even in the original film, like that's the deal. It's like no one listens to Laurie.
Right. Whereas in this movie, for just no real reason, the whole town is like her when they weren't before.
Yeah,
and there's no.
It's like you ask the question, like, usually in films, people are naturally skeptical of anything.
Yes.
What if nobody was skeptical? Yeah. What if everyone bought in immediately?
In a world that is set up to not have that. Like the original film has the exact opposite of that. Like we've established that no one listens but Laurie.
Right.
Like, and that's what makes Laurie allows us to like cycle around Laurie as a protagonist. One of the things that makes her so relatable, and the character work. Yeah, in that narrative, and it's never like overbaked.
Well, yeah, like her and Loomis. Like nobody listens to either of them. Loomis is over the top, but it's like there's a couple of people who have like had very intimate experiences with Michael Myers and are able to see the evil that lurks inside, right?
And it's clear that like you can only understand it by seeing it.
You have to like have a brush with it.
Which is true of like human experience for the most part. Like it can be kind of hard for people like to latch on and gleam onto new ideas.
They kind of try to do that in this movie by like showing us some flashbacks of when like other characters had quote unquote run-ins with Michael Myers. The one that I think is the stupidest is fucking Lonnie, who is not even a character of substance in the original movie. Like he kind of bullies Tommy or whatever, Tommy Doyle. And then other than that, the only other thing we see is like him going up to the door of the Myers house and fucking Donald Pleasance in the bushes being like, "Hey Lonnie, get your ass away from there," and then he like runs off down the street. Like that is the extent of Lonnie in the first one. In this one, it's like him and Tommy Doyle and like the little girl who was being like, they formed like this support group of like fucking Michael Myers like remember.
Well, you had the fucking psychiatric assistant who was driving Donald
who drove with Loomis at the beginning, and we'll circle back to her because that was some really fucking annoying fan service. But my point is like we see a flashback of Lonnie running into Michael on the street and just like curling up in a fetal position on the concrete, and then the cops show up and then Michael is gone. It's like that was his quote unquote brush with Michael, like why he's seen the evil. It's like he just ran into dude in the street and dude did nothing to him. That part at the fucking beginning of this movie where they're at the bar and there's like the shitty talent show going on, and then like that's how they reveal all of these old characters is like Tommy Doyle gets up there and he's like, I'm gonna tell you a story.
Well, no. Here's the thing. At that point, they'd already revealed who they are. The one character, the nurse, asks him to keep it down.
Yeah.
And then he goes over to the bar, and the bar says, "Oh, well," the bar guy, like, he says, "Oh, well, you know who that is over there. Like, they had to deal with the whole Michael Myers thing
Well,
when they were kids or
the dumb
whatnot."
thing is
and
like,
then they
Yeah.
do that and tell us twice.
yeah.
Like, but then, like, they do it, like, to finish your bit. They use, like, fucking spotlights. Like,
Yeah,
like,
they
like,
use spotlights
it's
to
as
put it all.
ham-fisted as it could be.
That's the thing. It's like when the doctor and nurse, husband and wife, are like they're telling them to like pipe down. They have the way they have it framed is that like all of the survivors, like their heads are out of frame. Like it's shooting them from like the shoulders down. Like it's trying to like hide who it are. We've only seen these people as children. Why could they not show us their faces? We wouldn't be like, oh, I know who that is. You know, it's like, so by the way that they won't show us their faces until they get up on stage and do the spotlight bit, they're telling us like, hey, these characters, they're important, and we're about to tell you who they are.
You know what the shit reminds me so much of is Saw 7 and the Saw Survivor support group.
Yes. Oh, you're so right.
It's like, yeah, it's a whole thing. They have like an
I've never seen that
AA
one.
meeting sort of thing where survivors are all sitting in a circle together.
Yeah.
And that's basically this movie, except for some reason, every person who's had even like a minor brush up with Michael Myers has just an insatiable bloodlust.
This is like the definition of fan service, because like this group of people that like hangs out and are like buddies together just happen to be totally secondary characters from the original film. That's it. If you're
if it
trying
had
to
stopped there, I would have kind of been okay with it. Like, if just like one or two of them had been that, but like the other characters like weren't really relevant, you know.
If it had been like a one-off at the bar, like it would have been stupid, but like okay. But that's another problem with this movie is all of them become like protagonists.
Yeah.
This movie is so fucking muddy with characters that it's hard to focus on what is like happening at all. Like in Halloween 2018, yeah, we're introduced to like the granddaughter and whatever, and like Judy Greer, but like it's much more focused. It like Laurie is still like the main character, and like her granddaughter, like the new generation is too. Like we follow them with like some cutaways to, you know, some scenes of Michael Myers killing people to keep the scares up. In this movie, all of these characters are treated with so much weight. Fucking Judy Greer, the granddaughter, the fucking cop who got stabbed in the neck at by the doctor in 2018. Fucking
We get a
Lonnie.
flashback of him early in the movie that we should talk about.
We'll
later.
get to that. But fucking Lonnie, Tommy Doyle, fucking the little girl who was being babysat, the fucking nurse from the first one. These are all supposed to be treated as like characters with like weight. The doctor and nurse couple, the gay couple who lives in Michael Myers' house now. Like
they get so much time.
all of these characters get so much screen time that none of them have any sort of development.
I feel like
And like
after the
poor
success
granddaughter.
of 2018, they got notes from the studio that said bigger, bigger, bigger. And the fact that this movie premiered on IMAX
That's crazy.
tells you about all you need to know.
That's crazy.
In terms of that. And you know, I think there's nuggets of really great characters in here. I think if they would have had the whole movie just focus on Big John and Little John,
Yeah.
it would have ruled.
I thought that would have been really fun.
Because here's the thing: each of those characters, like the problem to me wasn't any one of the single characters. I wasn't there for that podcast episode. But my biggest critique coming out of like the first the remake, it's just called 2018.
2018. Call it 2018.
Right.
Yeah.
My biggest critique coming out of 2018 was that there was a lot of there's just a little bit too much comedy. None of the comedy landed poorly for me. I enjoyed all the comedy, but I just felt like there was just a bit too much of it. Like the original film does have comedy, like even somewhat scattered throughout, but like it never like steals the show. It never like takes too far away.
2018 does have a lot of like comedic bits, and I mean it is written, you know, partially by Danny McBride and David Gordon Green, who are like comedy
Comedians.
guys.
Yeah.
And in fairness, like you say, all of the comedic bits are written pretty well because these guys are funny.
They do comedy.
I can understand your complaint that like there is a lot of it.
Yeah, and again, like I don't have any problem with the jokes, but it's a lot of jokes. And here the miscellaneous couple that just happen to be living across the street from Laurie, like, get more characterization than the granddaughter does. And I hate that.
The ones who are flying the drone around.
Yeah.
Yeah, I already forgot about them. There's so much fucking
but like,
going on.
but
in this
even
movie.
still, like you forgot about them. But like, don't they get more characterization
They're
than
more
the granddaughter?
interesting characters. Yeah,
Yeah, they're more
that's the
interesting.
thing.
They're given like more to do.
They're
like the
introduced to be
wine,
killed
the
immediately
playing
in
with a
the
little
same scene.
drone.
Yeah.
Like those are fun little character bits. And meanwhile, like Laurie's granddaughter like reunites with her boyfriend, and that's it.
And the boyfriend, all that we got from him in 2018
That he's a piece of shit.
is that he kissed another girl at the dance and then threw Allison's phone in a bowl of nacho cheese. And he becomes like a main character in this movie.
Well, most importantly, in the first one, he shows up at the dinner with Karen, the mother, and Laurie appears, and they're talking about how skeptical they are, you know, and it doesn't ring clear that he has generational, you know, involvement with Michael Myers just as much as they do.
He's Lonnie's son.
Yeah.
I feel like they might mention that as like a throwaway line in 2018.
Which is how they
but,
should have
like,
kept it, because it's fine as a throwaway.
But one thing I want to say,
Well, yeah,
Cleve,
Lonnie shouldn't be
you
important.
mentioned a critique of 2018 being there was too much
On
humor.
the car right over here.
I feel like this movie is humorless.
Yeah.
And the things that work from it are usually the humor. For me, at least. I think the characters of Little John and Big John are a great example. They have some funny banter, and
I did
that's
like
the,
them a lot.
the section that works the most for me. Whereas throughout the rest of the movie, for the most part, it is kind of a bleak, humorless affair.
Yes.
The brunt of the rest of the humor comes in like the physical absurdity of some of the kills.
That's
There
what I'm
were-
saying is like
there
the
were-
humor is given to Michael Myers, the last person that the humor should be given to.
There are more moments in
Mm-hmm.
this movie that I laughed where I felt like I was not
supposed
to be
to.
laughing. One moment in particular, which while we're talking about, we should bring it up because this did get like a genuine belly laugh out of me, and I don't think it was supposed to. The part where like Michael Myers attacks. We talk about the scene as a whole, but like attacks like some of the old secondary characters in like the van at the park, and the doctor and nurse character are with them, and the doctor, the wife, like takes this Desert Eagle from the husband because she's like, you don't know how to use this. I've shot one of these things before, and she's just like walking down the street at Michael Myers in the car, like shooting wildly missing. Like, and that in and of itself is fine. But what she gets right up next to the car, and Michael Myers just kicks the door of the car, which knocks the gun around backwards in her hand, where she shoots herself in the face.
I love
See,
that.
I thought that was intentional,
Say,
and
I
I
thought-
think that
I
was one
agree.
of the best
Like,
kills in the movie.
I mean,
honestly.
it is. It
I
was
thought it
the
ruled.
single best kill in the movie,
And
like,
she does it
got-
to herself, like, so it kind of makes Michael Myers look like John Wick. I thought it was both
It
funny
got-
and rad.
It got
Yeah.
like an enormous laugh out of
Yeah,
me.
same.
I thought it was great, but like
And
once
definitely
again,
by design, yeah.
I mean, even if it's by design, it kind of feels like it's not, because as you said, like, why in a movie, like, if you're going to do the comic relief, it should be in scenes devoid of Michael Myers.
Yeah.
Like it is in 2018. Like, he's the killer. We're supposed to be afraid of him, right? So I should not be laughing in the scenes where he's brutally murdering people. So even if that was meant to be like a funny moment, I think it's a misfire, pun intended. That being said, I did love it. It was my favorite part of the movie, but I don't feel like it's for the reason that they intended.
See, I'm okay with it being a campy affair like that. I honestly think the movie would have been fine if they had shoehorned more of that in here. The problem for me
because
is...
with how shitty and heavy-handed the dialogue is, like, yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah, the problem is there wasn't enough of that, to the point where when it does happen, it feels out of place.
Well, yeah,
It's
'cause
about- yeah, so it's a
focuses-
pick a lane situation,
It focuses on the wrong things. Like 2018, I think does for me. personally, it has a nice balance of comedy and horror. Like, the comedy is interspersed, like, between the kills, where, you know, we can take a breath after, like, some really brutal shit or whatever. We can get a little laugh, and then it's back to Michael Myers. It's scary again. You know, whereas, like, this one, all the fucking dialogue and character shit, aside from, like, a couple of moments with, like Big John and Little John, all of the character stuff is so fucking dour and heavy-handed and boring that, like, you're right, the only other place to put the comedy is in more, like, ridiculous over-the-top kills, but it doesn't do that, which is why it doesn't feel like it's like an intentional thing.
Well, I said this when I walked out of the movie, but, you know, it feels like this movie mixed up its C plot with its A plot. Mm-hmm. You know, the plot, which becomes the A plot of the angry mob, you know, hunting down Michael Myers, feels like it should be a B or a C subplot, where the A plot should be, you know, us following Michael Myers as he goes and
with the granddaughter
on the hunt. Like, that seems like a primary story right there.
Yeah, follow the same protagonist that you followed in the last film. It's a continuation. It begins this literally the moment that that 2018 ends. Like, focus on the same characters.
And the original,
keep the plot
the
simple.
Original John Carpenter Halloween tells a small story.
Yes.
You know?
But even still, like, it gives us a lot with Laurie's character.
Yeah.
You know?
If this was about the Michael Myers house and Big John and Little John living in it, and Michael Myers coming back to return to his own house, like, that is very, very intriguing. That is a great story in and of itself.
Yeah.
But it's essentially delegated to a subplot.
Yeah.
You know, a very minor story. Yeah.
Subplots. Yeah.
One of many stops on this train. And I think, again, it was just the studios pressuring them to do bigger, to the point where, you know, they kind of lose the core smallness of the original.
Yeah, that tightness is so important.
I think another huge problem is that this one, and to a lesser degree 2018, they try to give Michael Myers motivation.
Stop doing that.
And that's
doing that.
Like, the reason that Michael Myers is scary in the first place in the original Halloween is because he has no motivation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He kills who he wants, where he wants, because because.
Even like, he was a child and he just, like, murders his sister
at 6 years old. Yeah,
and never speaks a word.
No reason.
Yeah, never
exactly.
speaks a word, never says anything, and that's what's scary. It's scary. Why is him not speaking scary? Because we can never learn what his motivation is.
Well, yeah, because the point is he's empty.
Yeah.
That's Loomis's whole thing, is like, there's nothing but evil behind his eyes. Like, he's a vessel for evil. Like, he's completely empty.
A shape, even.
Yeah, that's why he's called the Shape. Yeah.
Yeah.
Has zero motivation, kills because he just wants to. And he's not, like, on a mission. Like, 2018 kind of makes it like, okay, he's broken loose to go after Laurie because she's the only one who ever escaped him. And it's like, in terms of, like, motivation, it's pretty like basic, so it doesn't bother me too much. It's like, okay, sure, he holds a vendetta because he tried to kill her and wasn't able to. No one's ever done that to him before. Okay, sure, whatever. But then in this one,
finish the job.
Right, back to finish the job. Yeah, it's like he's been fixed single-mindedly on, like, finishing what he started.
And he does, like, make a point of returning to the original home, like his original home in the original movie.
Yeah.
Like, that all works. Like, it would make sense that, like, he would also make a point of returning to Laurie even. I'm happy to buy that.
But then this movie is like, no, you know what? No, he actually wasn't going after Laurie. He was just trying to go back to his house. And then they try to give a reason for why he wants to go back to his house, which is one of the stupidest fucking things I've ever heard in a horror movie, which is basically just like, he'd like to stand in his sister's room and look out at Haddonfield. And then later they're like, but what if he wasn't actually looking out at Haddonfield? What if he was looking in? at himself.
Okay, so he goes to find any mirror?
Yeah, literally any fucking mirror.
The room had a mirror right next
Yeah.
to the window. We see it when he kills his sister.
Oh my God.
Right.
She's in front of
She's
the mirror.
like brushing her hair in front of the mirror.
Mirror.
And then it's like this.
Oh my God, this is the need to be deep.
That's like-
and missing the goddamn point.
That
Like,
becomes
oh, it
Michael's.
hurts.
That becomes Michael's entire motivation for this movie is go back to his house so he can stand in front of the window
Yeah, that's
and just kill everybody who's on the way. Like, no, make him fucking motivationless.
Yeah, or
Did
even
you
better,
notice how they
make it so we
telegraph
don't
that?
know what his motivation is. That's why it's scary. Leave us room to theorize. Leave us room for our minds to wander. It's not hard. That's why it's scary. Like, we get a glimpse of his face. We know he's a man, but still he gets up when he's fired at multiple times. You know, like at point blank.
Yeah.
Like he still keeps coming and moving, and it could be that he just has a great deal of constitution. You know, like it could be that like he's just so gone that like
Because
pain
he's
doesn't
mindless,
register.
he feels
You know,
no pain.
like you can, but also maybe he is, and that's why it's scary, right? And so it's like, and if he is, what is the motivation? Is it like some paranormal boogeyman thing, or is he just that quick? You know, whenever you don't see him, you know, like we don't know. It's haunting and it's scary. And when you remove that, when you try and like give it like a purpose where like, oh yeah, he's just going back to his childhood home to stare
stand
at
in the
himself in the window.
Yeah.
Do you notice how they telegraph that too, right? Like he is up near like a creek and sees his reflection in the water.
Yeah.
And then just immediately goes straight towards his childhood house.
This is why David Lynch doesn't explain any of his goddamn movies. This is it. This is
David
why.
Lynch is also a better storyteller.
Well, I mean, for fuck's sake, absolutely. And this is why, right?
Yeah.
Like he does esoteric things that are often like strange and disturbing and unusual. And when you explain them, it takes all the fucking fun away. I don't get to pontificate on it anymore.
Just going off of our episode from last week about T10, which is a movie that like says very little in terms of like what is actually happening in the movie. Like it doesn't explicitly explain things. Like it's a show not tell movie, and there's lots of room for you to like try to digest what's going on, what things mean, like what is happening. David Lynch is the same way, and then you have a movie like this that feels the need to over explain everything to the point that you just end up exhausted and nothing is intriguing or mystifying because fucking everything has a goddamn explanation.
A loud one too.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing. Like it would have been like honestly like when the guy hits the pavement there, like I was like they might as well have had like fucking Jack Black in a suit like stand up and just 'twas beauty killed the beast.
I do want to talk about
old
that.
King Kong movie.
I do want to talk about that aspect because
Yeah.
that subplot is something that I genuinely disliked in this movie because I found it gratuitous.
I think it's so stupid too because they have seen Michael Myers
Yes.
without the mask in the asylum. It's shown on TV.
It was shown
People
on TV
know
in this movie.
who Michael Myers is, and it's not that guy.
Right. So for our listeners, like Michael Myers and one other patient like escaped the bus crash. So part of this movie is like the other patient who is like
the Umbrella Man.
an Oswald Cobblepot looking motherfucker.
Yeah, he's very penguin-y.
He's very penguin-y. Like who is
Umbrella and all.
somebody who's like genuinely like mentally ill, who was like on this transport from the hospital and like just got loose and is wandering around.
Just waddling about the city, basically.
Harmlessly.
Yeah.
Yeah, like very obviously confused, not knowing what's going on, and he becomes the focus for the witch hunt because the town thinks that he's Michael Myers for some fucking reason. even the people who haven't seen Michael Myers have certainly heard the story and know that he's like a towering, like imposing figure, you know, wearing a mask. And then it's like, they think this poor penguin-y motherfucker waddling around being like, where am I? Like, that's Michael Myers. And it reaches the point where like they're chasing him throughout the hospital, like totally whipped up into a blood frenzy. And like, Judy Greer recognizes that, like, that's not Michael Myers. She tries to stop everybody, and, like, she finds him and is like, I'm gonna keep you safe. I'm gonna protect you in the fucking dumbest way possible. She puts him in a hallway with, like,
doors on either side.
with doors on either side, with glass windows, and she locks both doors and is like, and stands outside one of them. She's like, I'm not gonna let them get to you. And so the mob runs up, can very clearly see him through there. There's a mob on both sides, and they're once again ignoring Judy Greer, being like, hey, it's not Michael Myers. And like, they start breaking through the doors, and the guy like takes a fire extinguisher and like breaks one of the windows, and like in his terror like jumps to his death from like the 5th floor of the hospital. And they make a point of like showing us a shot of him like all twisted and broken with like his brain splayed out like on the ground. And it's like, yeah, the Michael Myers like turned the people into the monster.
Halloween kills, I guess.
It's such a fucking stupid, underdeveloped thing that's like handled so grotesquely. I found that whole part like genuinely kind of distasteful from like a gratuity standpoint. Like it felt like too much to me. Like this character did not deserve that. And like I know that's the point, but if you're gonna say something so shallow as maybe the division that Michael Myers sows amongst us is like the real evil.
Like, no, get together and kill Michael Myers.
Fuck off! Fuck off!
Like, that is the right lesson, right? Like, if you have like an evil man in the town, Michael Myers hasn't been sowing division. If anything, he's been sowing like
he's been bringing all these people together to kill him.
Together, yeah. Like it's a good thing, right?
What is the message of this movie?
How is coming together to kill Michael Myers sowing division?
I want to read a quote from an article interviewing David Gordon Green on this theme in particular.
Please do.
He said, Halloween Kills as a movie explores the blurry line of what happens when the community starts to misunderstand, misrepresent, confuse what is good and evil.
Fuck off!
Like, how...
Michael Myers is unambiguously the villain.
The way he... shows that is showing the good inmate jumping out of the window to his death.
Why?
Yeah.
That's so fucking half-baked and stupid. And
if it had been a C-plot and, like, not given as much weight and, like, the crowds breaking everything, like, hadn't been as, like overwhelmingly budgeted and stuff, like, I'd be willing to, like, give it a pass, and be like, okay, cool, yeah, like, the town got together, they got the wrong idea. They rallied through. I was expecting that, like, when it started stirring up, and for it to be a thing where it's like, oh, okay, this is now like a cool event that Laurie has to get past, so they can get like our protagonists to Michael Myers, or whatever else like that. Like they have to escape the building, and we can just be off to the side. It's a cool bit of like
evil
it's a cool
dies
scene.
tonight. Evil dies tonight.
It's just a setting for them to get through. It's another obstacle in their way. Neat, but yeah, like it just keeps going. It just keeps going and going and ramping up to a really really hollow payoff and ham-fisted. Again, like I keep using that word, but it's all in between more exposition and flashbacks to the original movie or moments from the original timeline that we hadn't seen before, or moments from the previous film. And it's like the previous film never needed to do that. It just had things as they were, and it was like, and we get to see like how Laurie has developed over that time. She's like had like 3 divorces or whatever, and
Yeah.
like she's sort of
She
become
lives
like
in
a
like
gun nut.
like a reinforced cabin, like out in the woods, like
Yeah.
surrounded by like an electric fence and,
And
shit.
it's,
Like
it's
she's
you know,
yeah.
and it's fun that she was right for it too.
Yeah.
Like that she was right to do that. That's neat because like we all know that Halloween happened. We all know that those events occurred, and it's fun and it's fine, and it is sort of like an amplification of the events of the first movie with her not being listened to, and she just still isn't. And I liked seeing the effects of it on her daughters and how, or her granddaughter, and then her daughter, and I thought it was neat how her granddaughter took more sympathy with her than her daughter did. And I was really hoping that in this movie we'd get the opportunity to see more of her character and to see her
Yeah.
be like fleshed out and to be given like a personality beyond
But
like
there's
protagonist
not enough,
granddaughter.
There's not enough time for her because
Yeah.
we gotta focus on fucking Tommy Doyle and
These
Lonnie.
6
It's
other
like,
characters we don't care about.
The mob I'm fine with in principle, but in a movie like this, the mob should be faceless.
Yeah.
It should just be, in quotes, the townspeople. You know, just like general people. The fact that like we have to feel like we know so many of the people in the town. I guess it's to make it reinforce the good people can get swept up into doing bad things, huh? But like the town,
blurry line.
the blurry lines, but it's like no, the town and the mob should be mindless. They should be like, if they're going to be a villain in this movie, then they should be like zombies.
Also, like,
you know,
we're going to see a Halloween movie. Like, as an audience, like, that's sort of the expectation that's set is, like, you know, like, there's an evil slasher monster. I don't. It's not always the place for like a morality play, and I love a morality play, but like
when you're dealing with Michael
tell it
Myers,
well.
when you're dealing with Michael Myers, there doesn't need to be a morality play.
No.
By the nature of his character as a slasher villain, like he is the darkest dark that can possibly dark. So like anybody in opposition to him is the light. It's a very simple black and white, good evil thing.
It doesn't need to be
I'm
expounded
fine.
on. It doesn't
I'm
need to be
fine
talked
with.
about.
Like I love Shades of Grey and like more complex, like interesting movies. That's not what fucking Halloween is about.
there's
It's
no place for
about
it.
it's about spooky man in mask stab some teenagers. This is one of those cases where one of the very few cases where I would say just keep doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Just give me some more creative
Also,
kills.
like the trailer, does the trailer not set you up to think that like Laurie is going to go on like a badass rampage against Michael?
It absolutely
and
does,
then
and she does nothing.
disappears for 70% of the movie.
Like,
Yeah.
like, and I
She's
guess,
barely in the
they're
movie.
setting us up for like the 3rd or whatever. God
Halloween
damn it!
ends. We'll
God.
talk about that later.
It already did for me. But when the trailer was setting it up, I was kind of excited for it. I was
Yeah.
like, "Fuck yeah!" Like she's gonna finally kill Michael. I'm good for it. Let's do it.
Well, yeah, the way the trailer made it seem is that like in 2018, Michael Myers was the predator. He was hunting her, and now in Halloween Kills, she's hunting.
Well,
him.
no, it's fucking Ripley and the Alien Queen.
Yeah.
Like they were setting up that perfectly. Like it's a get away from her, you bitch thing where she's gonna get in a fucking mech and kill Michael Myers. I was ready for it, but like instead, here's an example of gratuity from me. Her surgery. Like we have to see like her
Yeah.
whole stomach like splayed open,
That
and
was
then
kinda
like
wild.
her wake up and like have like full conversations and be walking around the hospital in the same night.
I guess it's so we can
Hey,
realize.
but we saw her hop herself up on pain meds.
I guess.
by just stabbing herself.
Yo, and like I'm
with a
good for it. Like
syringe.
there are tons of examples in movies of like characters doing that to a degree, but like almost even then, like not after having their whole stomach splayed open. Like
Well,
in the
what's so
surgery.
if she
funny
had done
is
something
the-
more if she does something more badass, then I might have been more okay with it because it would have been like, whoa, we saw how like crazy the surgery was to save her life, and it was just earlier this same night, but she's so single-minded on stopping Michael. Like she's so
the
driven.
juxtaposition of
which makes her
her
like Michael.
stabbing. The juxtaposition of her stabbing herself with the painkillers to get through it, and last week's episode with one of our main characters overdosing on steroids is so funny because
Oh, yeah.
it's like you have this absurd cartoon portrayal of drugs and
Yeah.
substances, you know, juxtaposed with like just a very real aspect of it, and it really emphasizes like the cartoonishness of this film.
Yeah.
But see, here's the thing though. I thought about it for a moment. I'm really on board with the idea, but we never got the payoff in this movie. But all of the setup for it, which is not really a great way to do like a middle film, frankly. Here's the thing, right? Like she and Michael are at odds, and they're setting that up, and that's great. I'm here for that. But it could almost work because it's the same with Michael. Michael keeps getting shot, and he just keeps coming, right? And so she has to match that will.
Right.
She has to match that idea of like being like being surgically operated on that same night and still getting up and going out after Michael Myers.
Right.
But how fucking long is this night? Right? Like how long is this one evening going to go on for? Because it was already late into the night, like at the end of the first movie. There's only so much time in a single evening to do all of these things. Like, and I recognize that like some of them are like location to location, but for Laurie, like it hasn't really been like she's been in every one of these key places except for like the house at the very end. So it just chronologically, like it doesn't really pan out for me. And I like the idea of all three of these movies potentially taking place on the same night on paper. But you have to pace it. You gotta pace that shit right. And here, like, yeah, she just doesn't get enough.
We can talk about this more after this episode, but from what I've heard, they might not all end up on the same night.
Yeah.
But I'll talk about that later. One aspect I want to talk about, because I found it to be the most baffling subplot, is the cop flashback.
Yeah, what the fuck?
It's not your fault, as we've heard a billion times in the movie. So they flash back to the same night in the 70s, right after the murders.
They have to, if they're ignoring the rest of the Halloween sequels as canon, then they have to establish like how that night ended, how Michael got caught and ended back up in the asylum.
No, they didn't. They didn't have to explain it because it happened. Here's the thing, right? Like here's the thing about movies, you know? Like or just real life even. Sometimes things happen off camera and they don't need to be explained.
Yeah.
Like and I really wish that like people would just understand that. I just watched Halloween for the first time, and then I watched this movie, and then I watched 2018. Sorry. I watched the original Halloween, and I watched 2018, and 2018 gets going, and I see that Michael Myers is in an institution. Okay, well they caught him later that night.
Yeah,
that is all the leaping that my brain had to take. Is that okay? Cool. They shot him a ton of times, and then he got up and was still gone, and maybe he killed someone else that night, and they finally were able to like wrestle him down to the ground or something. I don't care. It's fine. And you know, showing it might be okay too. But having to like incorporate like a brand new character and add this whole plot point around it and everything else. Again, like I would have been all right with it if it had just been like a flashback as simple as that.
They have to give backstory to a character who was secondary in 2018,
so that they can explain like why like Michael was taken in and not killed. It's so silly because like Michael gets away. So any other cops could have just been like, okay, we're taking him in because like we're cops or whatever, and we're going to try and, you know, not fill them full of bullet holes because we're movie cops. And, like, that's it. That's all that has to happen.
Yeah.
You know? Take them off the institution. And that's as far as it needs to go. But
the most ridiculous part to me is in the first movie, we see Loomis shoot Michael Myers several times.
Yeah.
And Michael Myers still gets away. You know, at a certain point, we realize it doesn't matter if Loomis shoots Michael Myers. He's going to live through it.
He already shot him.
Yeah, exactly.
He emptied his whole gun into him in the original movie.
Yeah.
And, like, that's why it's spooky after he falls off the roof when they cut back and he's just gone. It's like, ooh, like, he just got shot and fell off, off the balcony. How is he still alive? How is he still up and around? Then they have to fucking Princess Leia, Dr. Loomis.
They Paul Walker.
Yeah, they Paul Walker. they Paul Walker Donald Pleasance.
Visually, they kept it dark. I guess like it's fine.
It looked okay, but it's still
but the writing of it and like the nature of it is tacky.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. It's like it's
I'm just saying, like, when it comes to like special effects and nothing else, it look fun.
Yeah, it looks like him. The effect looks good. Like they got
But everything
somebody,
else
they
is
got
gonna
somebody
fly.
close enough in appearance that they could like digitally enhance a little bit. Like in terms of the effect, it looks good. But it's that same fucking thing. We know Donald Pleasance is dead. He has been for a long time. So when he shows up in a new movie, even if it looks just like him, we know it's not.
Yeah.
So like that, it's just one of those things. Like it.
It left
Why?
a sour taste in my mouth a little bit.
Yeah, it's needless.
The extent of his character in 2018 is we hear like some tape recordings of him being like, Michael Myers should be executed. Like he
Yeah.
shouldn't be like that's all. Even that I don't think is totally
Yeah.
necessary.
Well, and the thing with the flashback
me
is
that.
like Jim Cummings and I think it's Will Patton. He's the
Yeah.
dude from Righteous Gemstones. They both do a fun job, but like ultimately both of the characters
does Jim
are
Cummings
pointless.
exclusively play cops
I guess so. It seems
in
like
every
it.
fucking movie?
Hey,
in his own movie.
at least he wasn't screaming in this one.
Yeah, I have a hard time with him. Like every performance he's in feels like overacting to me. But like, yeah, what was so fucking Will Patton could feel guilty because like Michael Myers was choking Jim Cummings, and so Will Patton like accidentally shot him in the neck.
Classic cop move.
Yeah, like okay, it's another thing is like I think another reason they did that, and well then he stops Loomis from killing Michael from executing Michael Myers with a headshot, but it's like
Who cares?
it only exists so like he and Laurie can have like while they're in the hospital together can have a stupid blame game argument.
Yeah.
Whose fault is Michael Myers? Who fucking cares?
It gives me-
He's nobody's fault. That's the thing.
It gives me whiplash that he like gets to stop Loomis because he's literally trying to shoot Michael Myers minutes before.
Yeah.
Sudden change of heart after, he accidentally kills his
I guess he
partner.
just has some distaste towards
okay.
it because it's like a fucking like Gestapo execution with Michael Myers on his knees. Like I guess he feels like there's something distasteful about that. But yeah, it's
Like,
fucking
he just killed his buddy.
It's fucking
Yeah.
stupid. Well, yeah, in that scene with Laurie, he's like, I just couldn't let them do it because I just kept looking at him and thinking that under that mask, that's someone's little boy. And it's
a
like
little boy that just murdered my friend.
that murdered a bunch of people.
Yeah, like what?
Yeah.
What?
Well, and he's like, that's all Michael Myers is. He's a 6-year-old boy with the strength of a grown man and the mind of an animal. What?
Wait, then what part is the boy? Because if he's the body of a man and the mind of an animal, what's the 6-year?
He's a boy. He's
What's
a six,
left? Body
he's
is that
he's
mind- soul?
He's a 6-year-old boy.
He has the
who
soul of a
has
6-year-old boy. What does
Yeah,
that
he has-
mean?
the soul of a child.
God, that's not the only time I said what. I said something along those lines. There's another one. Oh yeah, God, this is my favorite. Yeah, another example of like terrible writing. Laurie's daughter takes off Michael's mask at his own childhood house and like walks out into the street holding it, being like, "Come and get it." And then she could have just stopped there and it would have been fine. It would have been, "Come and get it. Come and get it." And we get the implication because we've seen movies.
Yes.
We've seen this movie that
Well,
has already been playing out, and yet she still needs to say, "Don't you understand? This is your childhood home. This
No,
is
she
where
literally says to him, 40 years ago,
Oh, yeah, that's another one
40 years ago, you stabbed your sister to death in the
We
room
know.
upstairs. That was 40 years ago to this night. Or yeah, it's like
we know."
it's like we get it. She's like, it's the house. Can't you feel it?
And I said, "Feel what? The house?"
Feel what? The
Yeah, like
house.
and like just to her, like while watching the movie, she's just it's all this. It's this house. Can't
the
you
house.
feel it?
Can't
and I'm
you
like,
feel it?
And I'm like, what? Feel the house? What is she talking about? It's Michael Myers.
Well, it's part of that.
The house isn't evil. It's him. Because otherwise, the sister would be evil that he kills. What is that? What the fuck?
But it's to try to add to like
The couple who
weird,
lived there
the
weren't
weird
evil.
the weird convoluted bullshit that like all he wanted was to come back to his house so he could look at his reflection in the window in his sister's bedroom. Like once again, like, that's such fucking stupid motivation, and so they have to give, like, the house itself, like, this mythical kind of draw to it, when in reality, it's just like, yeah, of course he'd be drawn back to it. It's literally the only home he's ever known outside of an asylum. Like, that's enough. That's enough. It's like a dog finding its way home. He is mindless. He, you know, like that's all it takes.
Whatever.
But it's like, no, all he wants to do is stand up there in that room and look at his reflection in the window.
Also, if your villain,
Why?
if your villain is the shape, if they are like mysterious and empty, don't say things like it has the mind of an animal or like it the body of a man or whatever else like that. That is giving it form beyond like non-shape, right? Well, again, the whole point being missed. But yeah, like can't you feel it? Like it's just so needless. So like yeah, this desire to like put weight into shit that doesn't have any weight. Oh Lord.
Oh Lord.
Oh fucking Lord. I'm steamed, boys. I'm steamed. I'm steamed off of this one.
It's a fucking stupid fucking movie.
Yeah, okay.
That had so much potential to be good, coming off of a legitimately good / great reboot of the franchise by the same team just 3 years earlier.
I even liked the moment in 2018 where like the 3 generations of women are standing there over the top of the stairs.
Sure.
With the whole thing planned, and they light the fire, and like they see Michael burning beneath them. Fucking rad.
And
you know what they do? You know what they do to start this movie out? When the firemen are like walking into the house, the guy falls through the floor. I like that bit, but he falls to the floor, and we're looking around, and we're thinking like, "Oh, where's Michael?" And then like
He's hiding in the gun closet.
He's hiding in the gun closet. It makes Laurie look stupid to do that, right?
She left him down there with a bunch of guns.
Well, she left him down there with like a fireproof thing to hide behind. Right?
I mean,
like,
presumably
the whole point is to
it
trap
probably
him down
killed
there.
Him, but
the whole point is to trap him down there, so that like he's, you know, like there's no chance. And I don't know. I will
say, to this film's credit, one of the things that I did legitimately enjoy was the scene where he right after that where he slaughters all of the firemen out front of the
I thought that
house.
was great.
Yeah.
I thought that was a
fun.
very cool scene, very well executed, like having him like walk out of the burning building in slow motion, and like he's got like the crowbar, and we see like all the firemen like hefting their axes, and the one dude like cranks up like the fucking
and
the buzzsaw.
And there, you know, it works because one, no words needed to be said.
No.
They know who Michael Myers is. And so we get this realization with them where there's like,
oh shit.
Oh fuck.
Yeah.
This is who this is. This is what we're oh no. And so like the guy grabbing like the fucking buzzsaw, like it checks out like in the world and in the lore. Like it's hyperbolic, it's absurd, but it still works. It still fits.
It's not an overreaction to
Michael Myers. Yeah.
Like it did give me a little of a chuckle when he cranks it up just because it's kind of fun. Like the image is kind of funny.
And like, that rules. And like we don't need an exposition.
And then to watch him slaughter them effortlessly.
Yeah, great.
Is fucking cool. Like where the guy with the buzzsaw, like he just grabs it and he just like turns it back on him, like he's arm wrestling like a toddler or something. Like no problem. And like where he impales the dude on the crowbar and like lifts him up into the air and is like silhouetted against the fire in the background. Thought that was fucking cool.
Well, see, here's the thing.
Thought that whole scene was rad as shit.
Pretty much every one of the kills in this movie are on their own, like isolated in a vacuum, fucking dandy to me.
Yeah.
Like,
I thought most of the kills
no
were
complaints with the kills,
yeah.
which I'm sure, like, if anyone out there who's like listening to this who hasn't seen the movie, that might even sound kind of spoiled and absurd to like watch a Halloween or like watch a horror film where all of the kills are like pretty fucking good, and still come out of it like peeved. But I cannot express to you like how much of the time span of this film is needless exposition.
Well, it's because
it undermines every one of those kills. Like every time we get one of something like that, the film like won't just shut up. It won't just like stop talking and let us just like take in the moments.
Well, I think we can all agree that like a big part of the reason we're so frustrated with this movie is because Halloween 2018 was good.
Yeah.
Like,
I really didn't like the evil doctor.
no,
angle.
that was dumb, but it's like such a secondary
It's
thing.
over as soon as it comes
Yeah,
out.
it's such a short thing. Like, I had totally forgotten about it. Like, I remembered a lot of the things I loved about that movie and, like, forgot about that one dumb little thing. But, like, in comparison to something like Rob Zombie's Halloween remake, which we talked about on our first Halloween episode of the show, which is a fucking shitty movie. Like, deeply misses the point, but at the same time it's like it's yet another early to mid 2000s attempt at a reboot of a classic horror franchise. The expectation for it to be good is not there. It's dumb, bad movie. There's plenty to criticize about it, but it's like it's par for the course, right? And in this case, this team produced a genuinely good and interesting and fun like Halloween reboot, and then follow it up with this just absolute mess of dirty diapers and doo-doo.
Yeah, well, it you know, it does sting all the more because we know they have potential, but it also stings because you can see nuggets of potential in this movie.
Yeah.
You can see nuggets of a good movie in this movie. You know, look at all the fun kills. you know, my favorite was Big John's eyes getting gouged out.
That was crazy.
It's
That was
super
brutal.
gory
Yeah.
and visceral, but also really fun.
I like him grabbing the light from underneath the stovetop for the drone lady early on. I felt one of the things that has always been cool about Michael is like him just grabbing like miscellaneous things that are there.
Yeah. The reason like he used the kitchen knife in the first movie that like becomes like his iconic weapon or whatever is because it was right there.
It's there.
He just grabbed it.
Yeah, he just picks it up and
But
like,
yeah.
cool, I need to kill this here. This implement allows me to kill. I take it.
Yeah.
And it is simple and pure. And it's the same like in that kitchen. Like he just reaches up under and grabs it. He just kind of knows it's
Yeah.
there. And breaks it. And he just and like it's really brutal. And you know the rest of the time, like he utilizes like broken glass off of smashed windows, or like
just his
the
fucking- or
banister
just his
like
fucking
broken,
hands.
or his hands, yeah, like whenever possible, and it's great. It's effective and it's very pure. The cinematography.
It's a well shot film.
Great.
It looks good. We
Gorgeous,
saw it in the
glistening,
Dolby. Yeah.
glistening in the light.
I mean, its aesthetic is unchanged from Halloween 2018, which had a good aesthetic to begin with. In terms of like visual style, it looks and presents itself just as well.
I will say the one negative visually is, again, they're trying to do so much in this film that they don't have an opportunity to slow down at all in the cinematography. I think of the scene from 2018 where it's just that long shot of
Single
Michael
take,
Myers going
yeah.
through the house, getting the weapons and killing
yeah,
people.
using a hammer and then a knife and stuff. Yeah.
And like that is a scene that feels like it could never happen in this movie
this
because
movie's too busy.
they don't give it that kind of room to breathe.
Yeah, it's too fucking busy.
Speaking of business, I have one other point.
Business.
I have one other point that I wanted to really wanted to touch on that threw me off, really took me out of the film. Was after like the first slaughter at the park, one of the survivors from the original film, like she's being chased by Michael Myers and she takes off and she slides down under a hillock, and Michael Myers walks by, and it is like shot for shot. I'm telling, like, I've seen the movie enough times. Like, it is like shot for shot the Nazgul.
The Hobbit's hiding
scene
from the Nazgul.
in Fellowship. The angles, like when they cut to a close up on her, like how Michael Myers like stops like right over the edge of it and looks over. They just stole it. It's like such a weird homage. There's a get off the road. She slides down the side like they do. She's up underneath the side thing. At the same moment where like the ring wraiths appear, like Michael Myers appears off the side. It like I would love to see like a 1-to-1, like someone put them up next to each other, like the shot where like the Hobbit, like there's a close up of the hobbits and like a centipede like crawls over his arms. We get like a shot, like a close up of her, like in the same way. There's not like a centipede, but like it's about the same like angle and closeness.
He doesn't get down like on his hands and knees, like
No, but he walks up to the edge and
he
he like he looks around and like it takes up the same amount of pacing.
He's standing off to the side, and then he goes and like walks across the bridge. And
He
there's,
sees
like,
his reflection.
He sees his reflection.
Oh, he does. I hate that.
Yeah.
That's what keeps him from seeing her, because when he is walking across the bridge, she's within eye line. Like,
Yeah.
if he were to look up, he would see her there, but the reason he doesn't is because he spots his
that's why
reflection
they
in the
quote
mirror.
unquote telegraphed the
Yeah.
return to
Ugh.
the house. It's so stupid.
Yeah. In that same scene, or right before, another piece of fan service that I thought was fucking terrible was in one of the survivors is, as we mentioned, like the nurse from the very beginning of the original one, who's like in the car with Loomis when he goes to the asylum. Like, she's also just been hanging around Haddonfield with like fucking Tommy Doyle and Lonnie, who were like actual children when she was in the original Halloween. But in that scene where like he attacks them in the car, they redo the scene with him climbing on the car in the original, almost shot for shot, even to the point where they have him like open palm slap the window behind her head to crack it. Exactly the same.
One of the most baffling shots in the whole movie was in that sequence. They break the window, and immediately after the window is broken, she locks the doors. Why would you lock the doors if there's a broken window and an easy opening into the car?
Incredible. And then she fucking points the gun at Michael Myers and is like, this is for Dr. Loomis, and like pulls the trigger and it's empty. It's like, what do you mean this is for Loomis? You didn't, like, you were in the car with him for like one scene. Like, you don't know him. Like, what is...
Also, like when it comes to like poor telegraphing, the doctor, like when she grabs the like the Colt and like gets out of the car while Michael Myers is still on the roof, trying to get in, she gets out of the car with the pistol. And then we don't see her for a little bit. Like, Michael gets off of the car.
Yeah.
He goes back in and he stabs the nurse, or
Yeah.
the other guy through the eye. And then she starts firing the gun from, like, down the street.
Like, down the street.
And it's
coming
also,
to
like, the
car.
opposite direction that she would have run from. Like,
So
it's like,
presumably, when Michael Myers
like
was on the
45
roof,
degrees, yeah.
she took her gun, got out of the car, which her husband was still in, and just ran off down the street
So that she could run back?
So she could turn around and run back up the street, shooting at Michael Myers and missing horribly until he kicks the door into her gun, spinning it around to shoot herself in the face.
yeah. What the fuck?
It's like a Three Stooges bit.
It is. Well, like the placement just makes no sense. Like, why does she have to run down the street? You know, like there's no, other than because I guess it looks epic. It hamstrings the whole thing.
Because if she were to get out of the car and immediately unload the Desert Eagle into Michael Myers while he's on the roof of the car, then the movie would be over. Mm-hmm. That's why.
It doesn't matter. I don't
it-
think it was
yeah.
a Desert Eagle, but that doesn't matter.
I mean, I think it was.
It looked like a Desert
It looked like
Eagle.
a Deagle to me. It was fucking big. Let's talk about the fucking ending, and then let's rate this thing and be done with
Please. I'm ready.
Because the ending is extremely frustrating as well. Like the mob finally catches up with Michael Myers, and they like stab and beat and shoot him to death, quote unquote to death, in the street. All while like Laurie has like an off-camera monologue about pretty much just explicitly saying that Michael Myers is supernatural. Like that.
With every kill, he transcends
Right.
further.
Yeah, she says like we've seen
Into
him.
what?
We've seen him survive.
And why?
We've seen him survive things that no flesh and blood man could, because Michael Myers isn't human. With every kill, he transcends. And it's like, so they're basically just telling us like, this is not a flesh and blood man. It's a Jason or something. You know, like this is they're explicitly saying Michael Myers is supernaturally imbued, and they fucking end the movie with after they've like beaten and stabbed him in the street, and they once again, just like everybody does in all of these fucking movies, is they assume he's dead and just leave him there
For no reason.
so he can just get up and murder them all again, which he does. He fucking sits up, grabs the knife, and like slaughters everybody in the street, and then for some reason, Laurie's daughter, like, went back to the Myers house so she could go stand and look at her reflection in the window, specifically so they could have him come up behind her and kill her and end the movie. And part of me wonders if they added that, like, if she was initially supposed to die at the end, or if Judy Greer was just like, kill me off, please, I'm out.
I did see something about an alternate ending where after, Michael Myers kills her, Laurie calls her on the phone and Michael Myers picks up and you can hear it breathing through the phone, just like in the original.
God damn.
And honestly, that's
God damn.
somehow even worse.
Yeah, I'm pretty glad they left that out. But even so, like, it's a fucking unsatisfying ending.
And it's a shame because like on paper, the idea of like killing the daughter is
it's like
great.
we knew
Like, good. Like, yeah, that's fine. Give Laurie even more anger and motivation, and also like that leaves more room in the script for like the granddaughter to like have a personality.
like they announced this as a trilogy from the get-go, so like we knew that of course like Michael Myers was gonna survive this, but it still just feels like the ending just left me feeling so empty, because it's like after all of this bullshit in the movie, they literally just have a character tell us like Michael Myers is unkillable. He's not human. He is supernaturally imbued. He can't be killed. And then we watch him be not killed and then kill everybody. And it's what is the
I feel like they telegraphed the ending of the next one too when Laurie said, I have to die with him.
That's another
She
thing
literally
about
says
this
like I'm
movie.
gonna cut off his head if he cuts off mine or something like that.
That's another thing with this movie that I thought was so fucking stupid, is like I am fine with like Laurie being extremely paranoid because of the trauma she suffered. But in this movie, she keeps talking about how she's like directly responsible for Michael Myers' like murder spree. She's like, I have to destroy the darkness that I created. It's like, what the fuck do you mean? In the original one, you were just in the wrong place at the wrong time. You were insignificant. Like, that's the point. That's why it's scary. Like, it could have happened to anyone, right? Like, why is she talking about, like, she's the one who created Michael Myers? She fucking didn't. It doesn't make any fucking sense.
Yeah, well, and it's so funny because the cop has the same reasoning.
Yeah, he's like, I'm to blame. And she's like, no, I'm to blame.
I'm the protagonist. I'm the protagonist.
And then it's like, well, wait, what if nobody is to blame, actually? Whoa. Yeah, like, honestly, we knew this movie was coming. I had high hopes for it, but, like, especially after watching it, I think that the best thing they could have done was make Halloween 2018 a standalone soft reboot that just ends the same way the original does, with them leaving the house and it's on fire, and you do the exact same thing where you just do shots of different parts of the house on fire, just like empty frames, like devoid of Michael, while like hearing him breathe or something. That's what's spooky about the original one. It's because we see that he's gone, and then they just show us all these like dark rooms where like he could be anywhere, right? His breath is present, but we don't see him. We know he's still there. If they had just done the same thing with Halloween 2018, except instead of like a dark house, it was like a burning house, but like we don't see him, and then just fucking let that be it. Just let that fucking be it. You don't have to turn everything into a goddamn cinematic universe. And I was excited. I was actually excited for this one until this movie. Yeah. And now I'm like, Halloween Ends is probably gonna suck too.
Why don't you just throw a rating on that?
2 out of 5. It's well shot. There's a lot of actors in this movie that I like. There are a few interesting, well done sequences, but it's just so fucking messy with so many fucking pointless characters I don't give a shit about, and so much like heavy-handed bullshit dialogue. Yeah, it's 2 out of 5.
Yeah, I think that's charitable. Personally, this is a 1 out of 5 for me. I think this is an absolute train wreck. I don't give it a half. It's not a half star because, like you said, there are nuggets of a good movie in here, but it's so bogged down by way too much. There's way too many subplots and different stories.
Too many fucking
and
characters.
yeah, and it gets convoluted and messy and really not a lot of fun.
No.
1 star for the kills, 1 star for John Carpenter's soundtrack, and which we didn't really touch on, but it was also John Carpenter again.
I mean, it's just
and it ruled. He
did a good job, just like the last one.
It elevated, I think, those moments as high as they could have been elevated for what they were. But yeah, it went so far out of its way to undermine itself. I think that with this budget, with a large portion of the same cast and crew, there's a really good movie. I think even on the cutting room floor, like I think that there's a great movie here. Cut out half the monologues, reduce that whole sequence, like the whole hospital sequence, to a C plot, and just give me some time with Laurie and her granddaughter. Like, just that's all I need is just some time. Like those monologues could have been spent with like them getting to know each other
Focus
at last.
on the fucking characters
Because
that we've established instead of introducing a fucking boatload of new characters who all just die anyway.
She has been like, and it was so perfectly set up for it too, because like she has been distanced from her grandmother because her grandmother has been the crazy one, right? And now after the events of of 2018, we all know she's not, or like the characters all know she's not crazy. So she's an opportunity to reach out to her grandmother. We can see that she's always sort of tried to, and we could get something between them of value before the mother dies, like between all of them, that would have some more like personal weight and connection. Because again, I really love this idea of like 3 generations, like Laurie and her daughter and her granddaughter like coming together against this great evil. Especially when like the same actor, like is it what is it, Castle?
Nick Castle.
Nick Castle is like playing like Michael Myers as well. It's really cool. Like, it's a really neat. It gives me a wonderful sense of legacy, and it fucking sucks that they couldn't carry that through, and they had to like lose sight of the plot there and like the coreness, because it's frankly it's easier to do. Like it's easier to just have like some personal moments and dialogue than it is these grandiose like meaningless sequences.
The whole thing should be she's never been strong enough to take down Michael Myers on her own, but with her daughter and her granddaughter, the 3 of them are strong enough to do it. Like, that's it. That should be the core of all of this, and it felt like that's what was being built up to in Halloween 2018, and then this movie just loses that and kills off Karen at the very end, so we know for a fact that in the third one, the most we're gonna have is Laurie and her granddaughter.
Yeah,
which would have worked if like they'd all had enough character.
Your rating is 2.
I'm gonna provisionally bump mine to 1.5 just because some of the kills were good.
Yeah, the kills were
okay.
But still so disappointing. Mm-hmm. And the other reason why I'm gonna bump it up is you can give the collective rating, but I do want to talk about what I've heard from what is going to be the next film.
So Halloween Kills, average of 1.8 out of 5 for us. I think you can skip this one. Fuck it. Even if you liked Halloween 2018,
I just stopped there.
Unless you're morbidly curious, I'd say give this one a pass. Not worth it. But yeah, let's talk a little bit about what we're
also if you
expecting from Halloween.
So originally with the series, they were shooting Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends back to back with no pause. So with COVID, they weren't able to do that all the way through.
Okay.
So they ended up rewriting Halloween Ends. And, Halloween 2018 and Halloween Kills are both on the same night in 2018. However, David Gordon Green has said Halloween Ends will be in present day and will involve the peculiar politics, quote unquote, of COVID, of a post-COVID world. And
No.
And
Fuck
it will have,
off.
this community not only experiencing the trauma of Haddonfield, but also experiencing the global global trauma of a pandemic.
I just want to watch a movie and not think about
Michael
that,
Myers is wearing a mask, but guess what?
No,
now
stop,
the
stop,
whole
stop.
town
Don't
is
fu-
wearing a
no.
mask.
Stop.
I hate that.
Oh my god.
I hate that
No.
so fucking much.
No.
Politics absolutely has its place in cinema.
Sure.
Halloween is not the fucking place for it. It's a goddamn fucking slasher movie. It's fucking simple. Keep it fucking simple. Oh, that sucks.
Yeah.
Hey, but guess what? Michael Myers survives because he wears a mask, he social distances, and he trusts the science.
My bones hurt.
Okay, this is why I provisionally gave it a half star more, is because I know
There's always room.
there's room to be way, way worse
Fucking hell.
with a plot like that.
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
Just look. Just
God, that sucks so bad. Honestly, the best way to do Halloween Ends is to just have it pick up immediately where Halloween Kills leaves off, but have it be all during the daytime, the next day. Have it start at dawn of November 1st. And that's truly the long Halloween,
Yeah,
right?
there you go.
It carries over into
Daytime
the next
horror.
day.
How
And then,
the-
yeah, do some fucking Michael
How
Myers
the
daytime
fuck
horror.
are they
do lots
going
of
to
stuff with
just
Michael Myers in the
explain
daytime.
Michael Myers disappearing for 3 years and
There's
then
a-
showing
like-
up?
same but different. Like it's
He
a
runs
bad
off
rap.
into the woods or something.
Yeah, same but different gets a bad rap, but like there is some credence to it. And like that's actually a pretty nice example, honestly. Like Halloween, but it's during the day.
Yeah, do
You know,
do
like-
it during the
like-
daytime in the aftermath of the night of Halloween. And where it's like, this is not gonna fucking be over until it's over. Like, it's no longer technically Halloween, now
But
it's
Laurie,
November
and
the
of course
1st.
that's a great Laurie. You've got Laurie just saying like, but no, it's still Halloween.
It's still Halloween
It's still
until,
Halloween until
we can
he's
kill-
dead.
Yeah, until he's
Halloween goes on until Michael Myers dies.
dead. Yeah.
Great. Fuck
that.
yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
And then they just do a big showdown in a field where like they keep like knocking each other over and keep getting back up again. Love it. Let's go. Like that's all
Fuck.
it needs to be. That's all this movie needed to be. And just stop
Well,
explaining.
I know
do
we
it.
predicted this one,
Like,
Ben.
show,
do we
don't
have,
tell.
Do we have numbers
Yes,
yet?
yes. So for Rotten Tomatoes, Tease, you predicted 86.
You wouldn't now.
Cleve, you predicted 82. And I predicted 84.
We were all
It's
optimistic about this.
sitting at a 40.
Wow.
Good.
Well, Cleveland, you win
Good.
that one by guessing the lowest.
Yeah.
My price is righted, y'all. There we go.
In terms of communal rating,
This is going to be another way off one.
Tease, you predicted 4.2. Cleve, you predicted 4. And I predicted 3.5.
Okay.
So I just win by technicality.
This was a Price is
Equally
Right.
same,
this,
yeah.
this is a Price is Right one for sure. Like,
The price is wrong.
the price was wrong on this one.
I'll
Well,
pay this price.
anyway,
What a shame.
next week, lamb. It's a sheep. It's a baby. It's a sheep baby.
Hopefully we can get it back on the lamb.
Yeah. Hopefully we can write this.
We're out on the lamb.
Yeah. I'm at the baby store. I'm at the sheep store. I'm at the combination sheep baby store.
Dave, you might hear that joke again next week. That's really good.
It's sponsor time.
It's sponsor time. Oh shit, there's only one sponsor left on the shelf.
There will be some more by the next time.
Well, as of now, the sponsor shelf is showing me only one sponsor left upon its emptiness, its empty shelf. So, what could this final sponsor be? Maybe this is Sponsorship Ends. We'll find out.
Never. We gotta keep getting paid.
Sorry, I don't think I'm reading this right. Sometimes the sponsor shelf is written in like an ancient Lovecraftian language that, while I only see images, my mind hears the words. Or only sees like random pictures. My mind hears it spoken into my head. But this time the signal seems to be kind of faint. This week is brought to you by the Ham Hockulk Homunculus. I guess it was the Ham Hock Homunculus, but the K and the C, it kind of came the Hockulk instead, because like the K separated into an L and a C, so it's the Ham Hockulk Homunculus, which truly is a homunculus if there ever was, and not just a ham hock that is also man, but a Ham Hockulk, which is also man. And that's it. That's the sponsor this week. Sometimes the final shelf.
If you think about it, Michael Myers is kind of a ham hock homunculus.
Yeah, and much like the sponsor this week, maybe it should have just stayed on the shelf. And there we have it.
Anywho,
get your ham hocks.
Well, that'll bring us to the end of this Halloween spooktacular. Sorry, this was kind of a dreary one. We usually like to celebrate the season a little bit more, but it's not our fault. This movie was bad.
Hey, here's the thing, though. You know what's beautiful about this wonderful podcast, my boys? Every week's Halloween with us. We're always doing horror.
That's true. It's the spooky season all year round, so it's really just in name only. Mm-hmm. But this was Halloween.
Halloween doesn't end with us. We're always Halloween.
It's always Halloween. Halloween never ends.
We don't kill Halloween around here. We let Halloween live.
We're the longest Halloween.
Yeah, that's right.
Anyway, if you like the show and you like spending all year in Halloween Town,
and why wouldn't you want to listen to three boys complain about movies?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
We don't complain that often.
Who put us in this position of power? Not us.
Yeah, we're gonna take all that agency away.
You can go on Apple Podcasts and leave us a 5-star rating and a couple of words as a review. It really helps get us up in the numbers and get more people listening to the show. So if you like the show and you think more people should listen to it, that's the best way to ensure that. You can support us on Patreon too at patreon.com/podpeoplepod. Big shout out to our honorary pod boys, Sam Simon and Sarah Morris, without whom the show would not be as good. And you can follow us on Twitter at podpeoplepod and at letterboxd.com/podpeoplepod, where you'll find a list of all the films we've talked about on the show with our average ratings and links to those episodes. I'm on Twitter at Some Spooky Snake.
I'm on Twitter at Mr. Sheets.
And I'm occasionally tweeting for Light Arc Studio as we put out further progress on It Stares Back. Stay tuned. We've got some neat stuff coming. Definitely
it's
check out
always Halloween in the Great Tapestry.
It really is. Go check out my work with Dread XP as well. We've got all sorts of very cool games in the works right now. That's in the works, but with a said weirdly. You can find my work on ArtStation from time to time, doing some cool work. I know Dread XP has an Instagram now, as well as I believe a TikTok, if you're into the Tiki-Talkies. Personally, Instagram is always a nice way to just look at some cool art. They've been posting a lot of mine lately, which is kind of neat. So go check out Dread XP on all of those platforms and things. And that's it from me.
Well, thank you for joining us on this Halloween.
Yeah, thank you.
And hope you get lots of candy and have a good spooky time. And the Michael Myers.
Michael